What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another review. Today, we're going to talk about a movie that I was really looking forward to. It's called Hell of a Summer. This movie is co-written and co-directed by Finn Wolfhard and Billy Brick, which I know a lot of people, know Finn Wolfhard from the Ghostbusters movies, and of course from Stranger Things. That's where he really took off, and of course the first It movie and a little bit of the second movie. So for anybody that knows me, knows that absolutely love 80s slashers. Like there's just so much like campiness and fun that I have with them, and I'm a massive sucker for 80s camp slashers. So like anything that has to do with like summer camp or anything like that, that's right in my wheelhouse. So like, of course the Friday the 13th, absolutely adore the first Sleepaway Camp is out there as it is. Absolutely love it. So anything in the vein of that, I am absolutely 100% for. I don't care how cheesy and over the top it is. I'm there for it because it's just that's those movies I feel are made for me. So I have a massive love and nostalgia for movies like that. So when I first saw the trailer for this movie, I was like, I'm 100% there because it looked like from the trailer they were leaning into that camp of it's going to be funny and comedic along with some crazy kills and all that fun stuff. So I was 100% on board. Now this movie essentially follows a group of camp counselors who are getting ready for summer camp to open back up. So they're there like a couple days early before all of the campers arrive, and they have a serial killer that's after them. So pretty simple plot, but it's fun. I just want to start off this review with saying that I do really enjoy what Finn and Billy were able to do direction wise. I think they're a really good pairing. Not only that, but in the writing process of this, because you really get to know the characters. And most slashers that most of the time you're just like, it is what it is. You don't care about the characters. You're there strictly for the killer. You want to see people get killed in the most brutal ways and in the most creative ways. And the characters usually always come secondary. In this movie, the characters are way more at the forefront, and because of that, you get to know a little bit more about them. Not a lot, but you get to know more about them enough to where you kind of latch on to these people and you care about what's going to happen to them. And I think as the entire cast really work well together because they kind of give this great comedic performance from each other that really feeds off of each other, and it really does play into the comedy. And I think they all work very well together. I don't know if this is going to be the first of many collaborations between Finn and Billy, but I would be very curious to see what they would do next, to see how they would progress and where they would go from here, and to see what they would continue doing, whether it be more of this horror comedy style or more of just straight comedy or anything really. I would be very curious to see where they're going to go next. That being said, this movie is definitely more of a comedy than it is a horror movie, which is fine. But I know a lot of the marketing, it kind of leads into that this movie is going to be like a throwback to 80s slashers. And in some ways, yes, it very much is. And in other ways, it is definitely more of a comedy. This is way more of a coming of age movie than a slasher. So a lot of people might be disappointed in that because, like I said, they kind of, if you base your take on the trailer, you're going to go into this thinking like, oh, this is going to be a straight slasher. When it's really maybe it's maybe 10% of that. It's more in the background. It's definitely secondary to this coming of age comedy. And from what I understand, I know that Finn and Billy did like a tour of this movie where they took it to a couple different cities and did some Q&As and stuff after. And from what I understand, was even in their Q&A, they never really mentioned anything about like certain horror movies that they drew inspiration from, but mainly comedies that they took inspiration from. So keep that in mind when you're going into this. I was like, I know that might leave a lot of people disappointed, but even though that the slasher element is still in the background, it was still a very good, entertaining movie. I think that's why there was so much character development with certain characters because, like I said, it's more of a coming of age comedy, more of a slasher. So you really were able to care more about these characters. Another thing that might be kind of disappointing to horror fans is most of these kills in this movie are going to be off screen. I know, again, like I said earlier in the review, that when people like myself and other horror fanatics, when they go for a movie, especially that's like throwing homage to the 80s, we want to see more of the creative kills, like how they're, going to kill somebody off, or more of the over the top, bombastic, out there kills. And in this, pretty much all of them are off screen. You kind of see more of the aftermath of it. And yeah, that's a little disappointing because I would like to have seen what Billy and Finn would have done with that, because there is a few scenes where we see a little bit of the carnage, but it's not, all there throughout the whole movie. So we just see little snippets of it. And the little bit of the aftermath that we've seen, it's very creative and very cool. So I would really like to have seen how they would have, really pulled that off in the long run. But I guess that was a creative choice because, again, I'm sure they wanted to kind of maybe focus more on the coming of age story more than the horror side of it, which is perfectly fine. I just know that a lot of people that this seems to be marketed for is probably going to leave slightly disappointed, and I can't lie, I was slightly disappointed. It's one of those things to where I enjoyed the movie enough to where I could kind of look past that. I enjoyed the characters and I enjoyed the comedy and the camaraderie between the characters so much that I was along for the ride, whether we got, you know, a ton of kills and carnage candy, or, the off screen stuff, which we did get. But I was even though I was disappointed with it, I was still on board for it. And even though this movie is set in modern times, it has a very 80s feel to it. It feels like it was ripped right out of the 80s. Honestly, if they really didn't have the use of cell phones in this movie, I honestly probably would have thought it did take place in the 80s. So it's got even the summer camp where they filmed it. It's just got that, it just oozes 80s to me. And it's got a very grindhouse look to it. The way that it's shot, it almost has like this Texas Chainsaw Massacre grindhouse feel to it, which is kind of interesting because it turns out to be mostly a comedy. So it's interesting how it's shot and then the dynamic go back and forth with that. I will say one of my other biggest disappointments, at least for myself, was something with most slashers I don't really harp too much on, because I think I have so much fun with them that I'm kind of like more forgiving when it comes to certain things, when it comes to killer reveals and what their motivations are and stuff like that. Most of the time I'm just kind of like, I'm on board. I had a fun time with the movie. I can overlook it. But for this one, I can't lie. I was kind of disappointed in the killer reveals. I was kind of disappointed in their motivation. And I don't know if it's the way that it was revealed or the way that it was played, or what, but I did find myself slightly taken back, where I was kind of just like, oh, okay. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know what I was expecting. I guess because I had pretty high expectations going into this movie. I can't lie, because of the way it was marketed and like the content that it was going to have. So I found myself very much. This was really up there as one of my most anticipated movies of this year. And while it did live up on some fronts, there were certain things I did find disappointing about it. But at the end of the day, I still had a very good time with it. Like I've said in some earlier reviews from this year, we've had a lot of blended movies this year. Yes, we've had a lot of blended movies this year, but this one is definitely more comedy. But when you get those horror elements in there, they mesh them together so well that it really works, because you can have these moments of tension, and with that, there's something funny that'll happen that either a character says or an action somebody will do, and it works. It's able to kind of keep you on the edge of your seat, but at the same time, you're laughing along with these characters of stuff that's going on, because they don't take it too seriously. And I think that works perfectly for a movie like this. Now, when I saw the movie, Now, my theater got a lot of laughs out of it. And I think while most of the comedy did work for me, I think this is one of those movies as well, depending on who you see it with, that you'll have a lot more laughs and a lot more fun out of. Like, this is definitely a movie that I could show a group of my friends and sit down and really have a really fun time with. We could have a lot of laughs out of it and a lot of fun commentary out of it. And I love movies like that. This is definitely more of a party group movie. Like, if you guys can get together, have a lot of people, or go see it in in a pretty packed house or whatever, I think everybody will get a genuine laugh out of certain things, because laughter is contagious anyway. And I think this movie does very good at being able to pull off these ridiculous character funny moments that just work so well, especially in the heat of the moment when all the stuff with the killing and all that stuff's going on. They really put it together very well. So happy that Neon was the one that picked this movie up. I think it fits their roster of stuff that they're going for, especially this year. Like I said, they're knocking it out of the park. They're having a damn good year, and they have a awesome slate of stuff coming up that I cannot wait for. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I would say check this one out. I don't know if I would. It's so hard for me to put, to rate this where I would put it, because it's my love for the slasher genre and my love for summer camp horror movies and all that stuff is so massive that I want to recommend people to go see this, because I'd like more movies like this to be made. But at the same time, I was left with this slight disappointment to where I was like, I don't know if I would rush out to the theater to see this. It's one that, like I said, I think it depends on who you go with. If you go with somebody who you have a lot of laughs with and can have a good time and cut up with, I think it's really enjoyable for that. I mean, for the performances and the directing and stuff overall, I would definitely go see it, because, like I said, it is a fun time. It's just one of those movies you turn your brain off and have fun with it. I would just say temper your expectations before going in, because, like I said, if you were like me and you had this marketed to you as this big, throwback slasher, 80s slasher movie, then you were going to be slightly disappointed with it. And if not even more, I knew there's probably going to be a lot of people who are going to leave this extremely disappointed that it wasn't this straight up slasher movie. So temper your expectations, but even still, if you can go in knowing this information, I think it might set you up to have a better time with it. Thank you so much. That's my review for Hell of a Summer. If you've enjoyed this review, please come on over and check out some of my other reviews that I've done so far this year. Please also like, comment, and subscribe if you've seen Hell of a Summer, if you were slightly disappointed, or if you loved it, or anywhere in between. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, thank you guys so much for checking out this review and clicking on my videos. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much.